Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Culture Talk, where we share insights and learnings from leaders in arts and culture. Today, we've got a really special guest. It's many of you may know him. It's Martin Austin, Managing Director and founder of Nimbus Disability, a consultancy that provides disability-related advice and support to professional organizations. Nimbus offers a range of services. I think many of you will know the innovative access card, which discreetly conveys the access needs of a disabled person visiting an entertainment venue. Hi, Martin. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Cheers for having us on.
Good. Thanks for your time today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your earliest memories of arts and culture?
Oh, yeah. So I grew up in the Midlands, just outside of Nottingham. Not disabled, but grew up, had a really rich childhood. And in terms of in terms of arts and culture, we were that music was a big part of growing up. There was always music on in the house, and um, just I'm obsessed with listening to music pretty much. But we were regular kind of theatre goers, and one of the things that my parents were really good with was exposing us to live music really early on. So I remember my first big show. It's not one I talk about a great deal because, as you could probably tell, I'm a bit more of a metalhead these days. But my first tour when I was about 11 was Madonna's Blonde Ambition at Wembley. And it was me and my little brother and little sister there. And I'm not a big Madonna fan. My sister is a massive one now. But being in that kind of environment was absolutely electrifying. It was addictive. And from there, I think the next big show we went to, lots of little ones as well, but the next big one, I was lucky enough to see Prince live. So that definitely gives you a bug for live music. But in the mid 90s, I actually got cancer, and there was a really aggressive tumor in my hip, and ended up losing my leg. So that at that point became disabled. But what I found that throughout all of my treatment, I was obviously in hospital a lot. All I did, I had a CD Discman, just listened to music the entire time. So by the time I was well enough, I wanted to get back out and back going to gigs again. But the experience as going to gigs as a disabled person is very different to experience of being a non-disabled person.
Yeah, and we'll certainly come on to that in a minute. I mean, I think it's a story that many people resonate with in terms of music bringing people together and really kind of enlivening people. I
Yeah.
mean, as you said, as someone who enjoyed arts and culture and especially music before you became an amputee, how were your experiences of accessing gigs and performing arts in the months and years after the treatment?
They weren't too bad in the early days. So I got quite fit again quite quickly. Wore a prosthetic leg, and I didn't really think of myself at that time as being a disabled person. So I'd go to gigs pretty much as I always had done. I'd book standing tickets, but I'd find myself, rather than kind of being in the mosh pit, I'd find a quiet space near to the mixing desks to stand and watch, which was fine for arena shows. But I think as I got a bit older, and more independent, and sort of 18, 19, it was like the festivals were calling. And doing festivals was a completely different kettle of fish. The distances involved in walking around the festival, the amount of standing involved, and when there wasn't a lot of concession made for things like accessible entrance lanes and access routes and shorter routes around the venue. I did have one pretty bad experience at a big festival, having to walk back through a campsite to get to the car at the middle of night, no festoon lantern, tripping over guide ropes with this big clunky prosthetic leg, and it put me off of festivals for a long time, I've got to admit.
Yeah, sounds like a challenging experience for sure. I mean, obviously, it sounds like they motivated you to start Nimbus Disability in 2006 as well. Um,
To some extent, I mean, we started Nimbus because I was working for a charity at the time, and we were looking at ways to generate income for the charity, as a disability charity. And one of the things we started doing was training and development and auditing and that kind of thing. It was kind of by accident that we ended up working in live music, because Download Festival was just down the road from where we are, and we ended up doing some work with the Download Festival and Live Nation. So a couple of years before, I'd actually plugged up the courage to go to another festival, because like my dream trio of lineup was touring. And the access facilities that were in place compared to what were in place sort of 15 years earlier were completely different. A lot more consideration had been given. So the work that Nimbus did fit neatly with Live Nation's ambitions of being more accessible. So we really got to embrace that, and festivals became a busman's holiday.
Yeah, yeah. And how has that journey been for Nimbus, and how has access for disabled people changed over the years?
It has been a lot of changes. I mean, I think the biggest challenge the industry has at the moment with accessibility is just the sheer volumes of people that want to be going to festivals. The access, for me, not knowing that access existed because it didn't exist, to it now being not just existed, but it being really common knowledge, and the demand on facilities is increasing and increasing and increasing. It's great that so many people can actually attend live music and theatres and theme parks and the likes now. But yeah, the improvements, it's the old Wayne's World, build it and they shall come, and they do. Once the infrastructure's in there, people come and they don't look back.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of touch on the amount of people who have access needs. In the UK alone, I think the market for disabled ticket holders is worth 250 billion. Nimbus has obviously been making a case that providing access for disabled people is a valuable commercial strategy in the sector. But I think for me, and I'm sure many others too, accessing arts is a philosophical imperative. What do you think people miss out on when they don't have access to arts and culture or music?
I think you're absolutely right. It's what people get out of arts, culture, and music, and I think for disabled people in particular, it's that sense of a shared experience. It's one thing listening to an album in your room, and having that music get you through hard times, or go get you, bring great memories back to life. Music is so emotive, but to be at an event where you share that experience with other people it's everything. I don't think people that don't go to shows will ever understand the experience of listening to your favorite song, that maybe only your favorite song, with 30, 40, 80,000 other people having the exact same experience at the same time. And it's bonding. You create friendships through that, you sustain friendships through that. So when we started going to download, as it became more accessible, it was me and one friend, and then it was us and two more friends, until we got to the point where our entire wheelchair basketball team would go to download. So it's not just that one experience; it's the experience that lives with you for a long time as well. And not having the accessibility for disabled people to do that is a massive missed opportunity, because it enriches your life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just listening to that and thinking back to festivals that I've been to, it is spine-tingling to think about how people are brought together. Yeah, it is an amazing experience. What are your ambitions for Nimbus Disability in the future?
Oh, it's a tricky question, because I mean we're still on a trajectory of growth as it stands at the moment. I mean, the last couple of years have been really, really good for Nimbus in terms of the new venues that we've been getting on, and the card holder base increasing so much. Uh, I think the ultimate ambition is that we can continue adding value back to disabled people. So going back to the shared experience of doing a festival, for some people, they might not find out that festival until they've been brave enough to go to a theatre for the first time, and then an arena show for the first time. So really enabling disabled people with that kind of experience. I think from a more business strategy head on, I think the biggest challenge that's sitting in front of us at the moment is how we scale for international development. We do have some international operations, and we've got a lot of non-UK access card holders, but the demand for the solution that we've got is already being the interest already being piqued in countries like the States, in Australia. We've got venues all around. So how we can get to a model that is actually truly international, and how we can reinvest some of that income that generates into local causes, because obviously we're a social enterprise. So any income that we generate, any profit that we generate, we donate away to charity. We don't keep any surplus at all to further that kind of impact on disabled people at a grassroots level. So to be able to take that model and roll it out to other countries, and especially countries that perhaps aren't as well developed in sort of grassroots services for disabled people, something that's really close to all of our hearts and passions, and the reason that me and the team do what we do.
Yeah, I mean, we can't wait to see that unfold. I mean, it'll be great to see Nimbus grow globally. I mean, we love seeing the work that Nimbus does, and the positive impact it has on people in the UK. How should venues and cultural organisations get in touch with you if they need help providing access to disabled people?
All the usual channels, really. I mean, LinkedIn is obviously a great way to work at to reach out to us individually, personally. We have a hello at Nimbus Disability email that venues can reach out on. We try our best to do the rounds at trade shows, but one of the main things that we kind of decided on a little while ago is that we don't do a lot of sort of direct marketing. We tend to let people find out about us when the timing's right for them, rather than push it down their throats. But anybody that's got any questions at all, there's a small team of us that do that do onboarding and walk businesses through the different opportunities for processing their own in-house access registrations, accepting the access card, integrating the API directly into their online sales solutions, so that disabled people can actually book tickets online, which seems like a really obvious thing to say, but still is quite a challenge for a lot of disabled people at a lot of venues. So that's kind of the bigger challenge that we've adopted in terms of the arts and culture sector.
Yeah, cool. Well, there's lots we can't cover in the time that we have, but maybe we can catch up again in the future for a more in-depth chat about accessibility, festivals, or maybe just metal.
Yeah.
But until then, take care. It's been really great chatting to you and hearing about the work that you do, and hopefully I'll catch you again soon.
Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.